Hello, my name is Gary Mansfield, and this is a bonus episode of the Ministry of Arts podcast. Now, as ever, let's begin by banging these bongos.
Yeah, right. Crazy.
Hello, and welcome to this bonus episode of the Ministry of Arts podcast. Well, we've managed to squeeze in a proper little treat for you, because a few weeks ago I had the opportunity to speak to Kate Enters, and as well as being an artist and an all-round great person, Kate is the founder of ArtCan, and this bonus episode has sort of been split in two. So in the first half of this recording we're speaking about Kate and her practice, and in the second half we're speaking about ArtCan. I've known of Kate and ArtCan for quite some time, and they're a not-for-profit organisation whose sole intention is to put a spotlight on their artists and give them a sort of springboard into the art world. And they don't even take any commission on sales. How cool is that? This episode was recorded several weeks ago, but we've held it back so that its release can coincide with ArtCan's next virtual exhibition, with the private view for that exhibition being the 8th of November. And to gain access yourself, listen out at the end of this episode, because Kate will give you all the details of the easiest way to go about it. So please, come and join me as I spoke over Zoom to Kate Enters. I'm speaking this afternoon with Kate Enters. Hiya, Kate.
Hello.
First of all, for anyone that doesn't know you, how would you explain what you do?
I'm an artist, fine artist, painter, and I am the founder and director of ArtCan, which is a non-profit, totally volunteer-run organisation that offers opportunities for artists to exhibit without them having to rely on formal gallery representation.
And if we can divide that in two straight away, let's just concentrate on you. Was there art in your home growing up, Kate? In what respect?
Not necessarily fine art. I think I was the only painter. My sister was a fashion designer. There was always music, drama. Whether we liked it or not, we ended up going on the stage because my dad wrote plays. Okay,
brilliant.
So we have to do that. Okay,
yeah.
But in a strange way, it put us in good stead for being able to communicate. I think,
yeah,
and sort of feeling comfortable with people and putting yourself out there. My uncle was a set designer, very sort of visual and inspiring. I feel like he is sadly no longer with us, but I feel like channel some of Uncle Bruce, so that's nice.
Nice.
And my mum always sort of came from a much more sort of creative and bohemian sort of rap background, I suppose. So it always was just creative. It felt that if you needed an outlet or something to do, then it would be draw something or paint something or pick up a book or whatever. So we were kind of definitely wasn't a maths and science house, put it that way.
And that's quite all right. And what a good household that is, full of creativity in whatever area.
Yeah.
So how did you end up becoming an artist?
It just was what I did. And it's really difficult to explain. And sometimes I've tried to sort of analyze it, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things that I can't explain because it's integral to me needing to just have that as my outlet. So it's what I do. It's an extension of me. And that actually is, well, I was lucky, but I had to choose art at GCSEs. If you wanted to do art, you had to then pick between a science and something else to make sure that you were able to do art. But I was like, of course I do art. I just... Why have I got to pick?
Yeah.
So it was between history and geography. So I chose history so I could then do art. Random things that you do, but for me, I just think it's just who I am. So in a strange way, to have to do it, to follow that creative path felt fine because that's the way education structure is. But at the same time, I think it would have been something I did regardless of that being the route that gets given to you when you're little. So no, it's my happy place. It just, if I'm drawing or actually painting is where I get to. I start with a sketch, but if I end up painting, then actually that's when it just starts really living.
Yeah.
And I feel that this is me yeah, just this whole process is important. Um, so yeah, I can't really explain it, but it's just who I am.
Yeah, just a part of you, like it is at this point for any artist. But myself, like, I was introduced to art at a late age, 26, 27. So, I felt like I entered the art world rather than
But it was
being
probably
brought
always
up
there,
within
but
it.
maybe you didn't have that introduction or space to explore it when you were young enough for it to then become something that was just what you did. Because there are so many other influences and things that you're like the education system. You have to do like 10 different subjects. So how are you ever going to feel really integrated with one specifically? I think, yeah.
I've often said I've always been creative, but I'd never really created anything up until that point.
Yeah, but the visual representation of that mind being creative wasn't there.
So what was the point, Kate, that you wanted to be an artist?
So I graduated from art school and very soon realized that you can't just be a practicing artist when you need to pay bills and actually want a certain, life. So I did quite quickly realize that it would be good to sort of immerse myself in the art world and find out what it's all about and how you could potentially be a practicing artist. And it was at that point, and that was a slight shift, that I realized that yes, the creativity is integral to who I am and what I do, but I'm actually really quite good at business too, and enjoy creating things and looking after other creatives and making things happen. Seemed to just also be kind of part of who I was too. So I was really lucky. I got my first job at the V&A Museum in the press office. So it was like PR, which is why I was laughing about PRs earlier, because I'm pretty sure I actually asked for a set of questions on occasion. Worked at the press office there and just suddenly was really lucky because I used to it's been a long time ago now, so I can actually safely say that I used to get accidentally on purpose lost just so I could find myself in another gallery at the V&A. But it just felt really important for me as a practicing artist to experience what the art world was and to actually understand the history of real artists, because it's all been sort of philosophizing before, because at art school you feel very important because you've been put in this situation and it's you and it's your art and it's amazing and brilliant, but it's got no real place or gravity within. So I felt it was really important for me as an individual to get that gravity, to get that sort of knowledge and that sort of solidity to then like go, actually, I am an artist, I can do this. Whereas I felt a bit of a fraud to be able to just go to look at me, everyone would just look at you as if you're a bit of an idiot. So it felt important for me to actually understand what the art world was and how that functioned to some extent, to then be able to find my own identity within it.
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah.
And do you find that you've now found your feet, both as an artist and a creator of other creatives, if you like?
Yeah, it's been a while. I mean, it's almost 20 years since that first job at the V&A. So 20 years of exploring, finding things out. I love a happy accident, and I think sometimes people aren't brave enough to actually just take some risks to see where it might what might go or what might happen. And I think you should always take some risks just to sort of experience things, to know what's right and what's not right, whether or not it actually develops you as an individual, if you can then grow from that, if you get knowledge base that means that you don't do it again. Or if you do it, you just know that you're not doing it.
But if it goes wrong, that's just a confirmation that you was right in the first place, I think.
Yeah, and that's how nice to have that confirmation. I think, trust that it gives you confidence then to then move forward. So everything is always to move forward, I think. Yeah, so I think through all of that process, I feel quite solid now. The one thing, because I do so much for the creatives, and if we go onto that side of what I'm up to, then I don't get to paint as much as I would like to. And so I need to figure out a balance, I think. What I do with ArtCan and everything is a creative process, and I've built it up to be organic and to sort of evolve because it's meant to evolve as opposed to being forced to evolve. And that's also something I think is really important. So I enjoy that creative process with that. But the actual paintbrush in hand, I just miss it. It's a longing, I think. And I've been telling myself that it's fine because I can build up the anticipation and the ideas and the content and everything is all there and it's all growing because it's all part of me, blah, blah, blah.
Of course.
And then I'm like, yeah, but I just want to do it. But the problem is if I unleash it, then it's going to be like, whoa, I'm going to need like a whole 6 months when nobody comes near me and I'm able to just unleash it. But I don't have that luxury yet.
No. But you have the yearning inside to pick up the paintbrush.
I do little things just to keep me ticking along, but it's not that the paintbrush is it is an unleashing. It's the conduit for everything that needs to sort of come out, or the messaging or the conversations I want to start through the visuals that I create.
Yeah, it's like
with
almost
an audience or with myself, but whoever. And I don't really think about that side of it. I just know that it's something that needs to be on a canvas or whatever surface, just because then I've started that conversation.
And it starts from almost a meditative state while you're creating the art in the first place.
Yeah, it's almost subconscious too. You think you've started with what it is, but it always adapts and changes, and that's also part of the beauty. That's what I mean, those happy accidents as you sort of going through the process. I find that really exciting.
Yeah. Kate, ArtCan, how did that enter your life?
It entered my life because I was exhibiting. So after about 10 years of working in sort of arts and PR, especially in sort of big events and things like that, I sadly lost my mum, and it sort of realigned where the energy needed to be. And so I went freelance, so that I could then also paint more dedicated to my own practice and actually exploring all that. It felt really important at that time. And I organised some solo shows. I was lucky enough to find some spaces that weren't formal gallery spaces to host some exhibitions, and I just did it myself because I felt that was easier to do than try and wait for a gallery to represent me. And through that process, I actually did get a couple of galleries who supported me on a few shows and things like that. But I'd see all the same faces at my private views, and I thought that other artists must have similar situations of, you've got a guest list, normally made up of friends and family, but that doesn't necessarily mean you end up with a collector base other than your dad, who's amazing and obviously supports you because he loves the work, but it's hardly progress.
Yeah.
So you're like, okay, maybe other artists need to sort of extend their reach and figure out how they can meet other people to start different conversations and have that sort of ripple effect, which always is the way the world works. So I thought I'd organize a group show and put a call out. And because I had like the PR and events and art world connections, I just have quite a big network on like LinkedIn. Actually, at the time back then was brilliant for it. Put a call for art out, just saying this is a situation. If we all come on board, there'll be this amount of artists. Each of them have to put in this amount of money. I think it's 50 quid or something. But that means if you sell your work, then the money goes directly back to you. There's no commission, anything like that. So we're literally artists doing it for artists. And what I didn't realize was that international artists applied because they saw it as an opportunity to exhibit in London. So it was London, the first one. Again, without relying on having a gallery giving them that opportunity. I was like, okay, this is kind of fun. This is international exhibition. Let's do this. And it was brilliant. It was so good. The energy of all these creatives just basically coming on board on this, playing field that was level, and everybody taking control for their little element of what it was then making this bigger picture of, just was fantastic. And I hadn't even finished that one. It was only a week. But before I'd even finished, people were asking when was the next one.
Brilliant.
I was like, it was only supposed to be a one-off. Okay. So me being me, I can't say no. So I was like, okay, we'll do another one. What did we do those? And then suddenly, I think it was about 4 years down the line, I'd managed to create a program which was about 4 or 5 exhibitions or events a year for a group of artists, and it had grown to be an international group of about 60 or 70 who were consistently communicating with me and wanting to sort of get involved. So I thought I need to formalize this somehow, because it's got this energy. It's doing something different. It's giving
it's become something.
It's something, and there's obviously a need for it. Otherwise, why is it growing? Every single time there'd be another like 10 artists sort of adding on, of like being part of this community that it ended up being. So I thought, oh, I can't do it alone. So I'm going to have to get some trustees and maybe I'll make it into a proper business, and didn't really think about it too strategically. It just, like I said, it was quite organic, just building it, meeting the right people who then seemed to want to also get involved. And yeah, after like sort of 5 years, we set it up into a non-profit organization, totally volunteer run, still with non-commission. So if an artist sells their work during any of our exhibitions, they get 100% of that back. There's small participation fees, so exactly the same model as that first one, but now we have a program of about sort of 12 to 15 exhibitions a year. Nice. International as well, because our international artists are the ones on the ground who find a space and then we do something there. So it's an opportunity Brilliant. For the UK artists to do things internationally without waiting for a gallery too. So it was just something that was meant to be, and I facilitated that.
Excellent. And I bet you feel great for it.
I am so proud of it, and it's next year's our 10-year anniversary, so it'll be 10 years since that first ever exhibition.
Brilliant. And the artists I've spoke to that have been in it all speak very highly of ArtCan itself. They love being a part of it.
I think it's the community. I think, yes, you get the opportunity to exhibit because you can, and you can pick and choose whether or not it suits you at that stage of your practice then. But I think it surprises artists who are accepted as members. It's free to apply, by the way, as well. They do none of this money stuff, it's just too much. But it does surprise them that when they do become actual members, they have this access to an international community of like-minded and supportive individuals and creatives. Being an artist is such a solitary thing, and it's beautiful because it's solitary. It means you're focused on whatever it is that you're generating and creating, and that is, you can share that if you are willing to share that and collaborate in certain sort of ways, but essentially it's often very solitary. But it doesn't mean that you don't need to be part of the world to then make that solitary process actually really successful. And I think it's the community that ends up surprising the artist about how much they actually benefit from it and feel engaged and excited by it and supported, I think.
Yeah, well, there's that sense of community. I presume it's because everyone's got a little bit of ownership of what's going on in that day. Because normally when a curator or creator of an exhibition invites you to be a part of it, whether you have to pay to be a part of it or not, you generally just take your artwork down there and then go back on the private view to see where and how it's hung. Whereas if you've got a little bit of ownership of the event itself, then you're a part of it and it's a part of you. Yeah.
But also because it's part of the community, you know that whoever you're hanging your work next to is also part of that community. So it becomes a combined kind of investment, which then has this sort of like huge impact. It's like we previously just closed an exhibition, it was at the Crypt Gallery, it was called Legacy. I just loved it. It was at the height of when I wasn't feeling well and I wasn't able to be there. It was all, I think, but online and the energy and the ripple effect that one exhibition sort of had internationally was amazing. And I think it surprised some of our newer members because it was one of their first exhibitions as to just quite what an impact and sort of, it had. So I think the combined investment is as powerful as that individual investment.
Nice. And how many exhibitions do you think you've had?
Oh, to date?
To date, sorry.
Oh, my word. We did a tally, I think, at the end of last year, and it was about 50 something, I think.
Nice.
We do more every year.
Yeah.
Because as we grow, and people sometimes say, do you want to, cut membership at a certain point or anything? But the more we expand and grow, the more opportunities come our way and the more alternative thinking and energy comes into the group, which then means that people are then carried along a little bit further because it takes sometimes that new energy coming in to then remind people of just how exciting it is or what opportunity it is to then like get newly invested, I suppose, and sort of move things, keeping going forward. Also, at no point do I ever want an ArtCan member to sort of feel that they have to do anything. It's like everything has to fit with their practice and their process at that time. And if they need to take sort of like a year out because they're focusing on a PhD or whatever it is that they've decided that, is their next sort of step in their chapter of life is amazing and brilliant, but they can still be an ArtCan member and be aware of what the energy is, and we're all sort of behind the scenes cheering them on. And then as and when they want to sort of come back into the space and whatever it is that they'd like to engage with, then it's still there. And I think you should always respect people at different stages in their life and practice. And it just is, it means there's a mutual courtesy with how we are building the program as well.
Brilliant. And if anyone listening would want to exhibit with ArtCan, how would they go about that, and what is the process?
So we have 2 membership windows, one in spring and one in autumn. It's currently open. So September, October, go to the website, the portal's there. You can click on the link. It's got all the T's and C's and everything you need to sign up to apply. And then you need to submit your portfolio in a certain format. Read all the rules. It helps us so much because we are juggling so much with, day jobs and everything as well, that if the artists apply in the right way, then we love it because it just makes everything really easy, and also shows that it helps when it then comes to coming to exhibit with us as well, that you'll follow some gentle structures and rules and actually make it a much easier situation for everybody. So yes, you can apply, and then there's a committee which is actually made up of some of the artists who then review all applications. So this one will be at the end of October, beginning of November, and then artists will be notified if they are an ArtCan member. Once they become a member, they are then given access to all exhibiting opportunities that we are creating, and we sort of stagger them out through the year. And if one suits where they're at the moment or what they want to do, then they can apply. If accepted by a curator, or whichever curator it is that's engaged with that particular exhibition, then there is a small participation fee, as I mentioned before, and then you're in, and that is your opportunity to exhibit.
So what is the average?
You have to show you're dedicated to your practice, though. I mean, there are the committee does look and make sure that there's, I keep talking about energy, I sound like such a hippie, but it's actually really important that the artists who are coming on board actually are really dedicated to their practice, or wanting to try and move it forward, or showing a path of where they want to get to. And if ArtCan can sort of help them continue along that path by giving them opportunities to exhibit so that they can then explore their ideas and move things forward as well, then brilliant. That suits, that means they'll be an ArtCan artist to some extent. Whereas if you're just wanting to come on board because you just want to be able to exhibit but don't necessarily understand that it's the journey that we're all sort of on, then it's sometimes a little bit more difficult for that particular artist to then sort of feel really engaged with what the ArtCan sort of ethos is, I suppose. Fair payment for artists is really important. So the non-commission thing for us is just absolutely key. Don't feel it's really fair for artists to have to pay to apply for things. Not in current society when, money, it's ridiculous, and people are really struggling. And I don't think you should be unable to have access to exhibiting opportunities just because you don't earn or have a day job, or it just doesn't feel fair to my philanthropic soul. So people need to be able to exhibit, support each other without it being reliant on monetary, I don't think money buys talent.
Brilliant.
I just don't. So take that out of the equation, and then you end up with this amazing community actually of brilliant creatives who are all, as I say, it's a level playing field.
Excellent. And if you're an ArtCan member, can you apply to every exhibition that's? Yeah,
we do have some artists who just see it as their way of working through exhibiting opportunities. But also the thing is, like you say, at the private views, they're standing shoulder to shoulder with another ArtCan member. And we haven't during the pandemic, but we do often have an open call exhibition each year as well, which means that you don't have to be an ArtCan member to apply.
Excellent.
So we'll be hopefully bringing that back from next year as well.
Superb. And how many members do you have at the moment, did you say?
Approximately 378.
Nice.
Approximately.
That's a nice little community, isn't it?
Well, we're across 26 countries. So it's not just UK, it's 26 countries. If we wanted to do an exhibition in India, we could, because we have a couple of amazing artists over there. Again, in the States, we've got a good few artists as well. So we have actually got an exhibition in the States, and the 2 on the ground there near New York were our sort of curator support on the ground over there, and that's how we can make things happen, not just in the UK. Everything is possible with some energy and some structure there as well. I think because that first ever exhibition was actually structured really quite formally, it's just given us this amazing template that we can build on for everything that we do as sort of ArtCan. We have a great team of volunteers as well who sort of work behind the scenes, and they're not artists. So yes, if anybody's interested and they're not actually an artist to get involved, then we function as a business. We need help. Anybody who's got a little bit of time and energy and wants to support contemporary artists in today's weird, fucked up society, then come and talk to us, because yeah, it's an opportunity to actually figure out how the art world works. Again, by not having to rely on being picked up by a gallery or working within the traditional perceived art world as it still is. So yeah, I think we might be offering that actually for non-artists. That could be quite interesting.
And I do think that the current art world structure, it does need streamlining or cutting down or rethinking.
Well, it just needs recognizing for what it is. And I think what it is isn't the be all and end all anymore.
Yeah. I
think as long as they can, if the people who are working in that environment can recognize and start engaging and having potential collaborative gorgeousness with things like ArtCan, then imagine the ripple effect of that. Yeah. So I think it's opening up their doors to be a little bit more creative and flexible in how it is that they're doing things, and enabling and supporting organizations like ArtCan. Then you know what, world domination. Because if you think of what our ripple effect is, and we haven't got that sort of structure and potential funding or management behind us, but imagine adding that into the mix as a collaboration, then, you know, we could take over the world.
And I applaud you for doing so. And not having the bricks and mortar is a huge advantage, isn't it?
It is, but it also just keeps it entertaining. I think I just need constant entertainment. So I'm like, oh, what else can we do? Where else can we be? Let's do something different. Let's go into a space that we haven't been into before. Let's actually go to a corporate and do part of their corporate social responsibility program, and actually bring art and make it accessible to people who don't actually want to necessarily go into those white box sort of spaces. And just doing things differently means I maintain some entertainment for myself, I think.
Brilliant. And I know that ArtCan are going to take over the world, but how do you see that happening in the near future? That's the end goal, but what's happening just before then, on the run up to it?
On the run up to that, I don't know. I don't really prescribe to sort of like 5-year plans or 3-year plans, because I think the beauty of how we've got ArtCan to where it is because it's been organic, and we've actually it evolves because we've got the space and flexibility to grow with it. I think if I try to constrain it, then A, I'd get bored, and B, I don't think it would have the same generosity of community. I think it would end up feeling quite prescribed, and I will do everything I can to make sure it doesn't feel prescribed, because I think that's why anybody can then, who engages with it, actually just likes it, because it's not about me, it's not about it's got its own identity, and it's just generous. And that, I think, goes a huge way. Going back to my sort of hippie roots, I think if we can make sure that everything that we do has that generosity of outward looking and accessibility, then I think it's got to have some sort of ripple effect within today's society. It's got to have something that's true and good, just to try and counterbalance all the crazy shit that's going on, which is why it feels really even more important to some extent to just keep steady and to keep true. And I hope that would then just organically and naturally keep the growth at a process and at a pace that means it can maintain its success in that respect.
Yeah. I mean, any community works with just being kind and aware of those around you. You know, anything more than that is a result, I think, isn't it? You know.
Yeah. But like I say, the structure's there, so it doesn't mean we can't expand and we can't grow rapidly. But I'm going to make sure that we're going to do it properly and considered and generous. And I think that will hopefully get world domination in the long run. But we're going to have to, I think we do need to try and collaborate more with other like-minded organizations and companies who are potentially slightly more established or in a slightly different field, that we can then be a little bit creative with and do fun things with, to then expand that sort of ripple effect. So it's not just within the art world and the art community and the artists, it's actually then becomes even more embedded within society as a bigger story.
Brilliant. If someone wants to get involved with ArtCan, they're not an artist, they're not able to give their time, is there any way they can help fund it or support it in any way?
Yeah, there is. We set up a Friends of program because we did have quite a lot of people who are coming to exhibitions. They weren't artists, they were actually buying artworks and then going, oh, what's ArtCan? But you're not taking commission, what's going on? So like, yes, so okay, these are people who actually want to engage and support an organization that is supporting contemporary artists, which happen to be some of their friends. But how can we then take from that?
Help the machine run.
Keep it rolling. And also, just give us a little bit more of a bit of money to play with. That meant we could put in a higher cost if we wanted to, or do something a little bit different. And so, yes, one of our artists helped set up the Friends of program for ArtCan. So we have different tiers. We have a few corporate partners and sponsors who basically give us an annual sort of chunk to help us with our running costs. Brilliant. And we have individual friends of just £30 a year. But just think how many £30 times so many people. Then we could have world domination. So actually everybody you ever know has to become a friend of ArtCan, because then just look what we could do.
So you say there's several tiers. So you've got the first tier being a friend of, and that's
£30 a year.
The next tier up is,
you could become a founder friend of, and that's like 250, I think, a year. And now I'm going to be challenged. Corporate starts from like 500 upwards. But I think there are tiers.
And what's the difference between the ArtCan friend and founder friend?
A founder friend is one that gets listed on all of our sort of brochures, credited and everything, as an amazing supporter of contemporary art. Yes, it does include my dad. Well, you know, he's got to. I won't let him buy any more artwork at the moment because I haven't created anything yet, but he can definitely help with ArtCan. But it's other sort of individuals who want to go that sort of extra step and recognise as sort of bigger commitment would help and or are able to very kindly afford it. And then the Friends of is just your sort of, you could gift it to someone as a Christmas present. It's like, oh, you could become a, you know, so we're doing things like that where it just feels, for the price of 2 bottles of Prosecco a year, you could actually come and drink a glass of Prosecco at a private view instead or something, you know. So that's why we differentiated between the tiers.
Brilliant. And if by any chance anyone from the corporate world is listening, what can they do to support?
They can become a corporate friend and or donate to us, because we are a non-profit organisation. In return, we can go and fill their offices with amazing artwork and host events for them and things like that as well, because we've got a couple of corporates who we work with already, and we are part of their corporate social responsibility programme, because they recognise that giving back to the creative sort of field has a ripple effect amongst society and generally. And also they have clients who are interested in looking at something that's not a poster from Habitat on their walls. So, brilliant. You know, we'll do that for them. And it opens up an audience for us as well, because the artists get to talk to individuals and the corporate clients and staff who are often too busy to actually go and look at an art exhibition. So if you bring it to them, they sell well. Actually, it's a really nice conversation that we've started with the corporate. So yeah, anybody interested would really, really enjoy that.
It's a win-win situation all round.
Kind of is, actually. Yeah, it is.
And when is the next ArtCan event?
Our next one is actually, we're doing an online exhibition. So during the pandemic, we realised that we still needed to find ways of exhibiting and offering opportunities to engage with art. So I was introduced to an amazing individual, Tom, who runs TD360, and he created the virtual ArtCan gallery for us. So we have a gallery in the virtual world that we fill with exhibitions. But the beauty of it is that it is adaptable. So each exhibition, we can change the fact it's in autumn colours, because, you know, the trees outside it's autumn time. Interiors, we can change the floor, we can change the walls, we can change the lighting. So our next exhibition in November is called Breathing Out. And it's actually to raise awareness about climate change and those sort of themes and conversations with our artwork and with the artists. And the gallery is going to look like you've never seen it before. So it's really exciting. And how nice, again, not having bricks and mortars, but having a virtual gallery means that the adaptability is still there and it's still exciting. So, and I think the hybrid sort of model of having online exhibitions as well as physical ones, now we are post-pandemic, means that we are still, I mean, we kind of thrived through the pandemic because our international artists and audiences really engaged with us because they felt they could, because we offered platforms for them to do that.
Yeah.
But they didn't then feel that they couldn't do something because they weren't able to be here physically. And I want to maintain that. I want to make sure that we are always offering a wider opportunity for our international artists to feel that they don't have to get a flight over or be here physically. They can still engage and do things with our program. That's what the ArtCan gallery is. It's a totally immersive gallery. You walk through that front door and you are navigating your way around this gallery space. So yeah, that was fun too.
How can anyone see what Kate Enters or ArtCan are doing, be it website or social media?
Okay, so ArtCan is artcan.org.uk for the website, and at artcan.org, don't forget the org, on social media across all the platforms. So follow and like and share and keep the ripple effect going.
Brilliant.
And I am at Kate Enters on social media and kateenters.co.uk for a website.
Kate, that's all my questions asked. Thank you very much for your time.
It has been such a great conversation. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
All right, Kate. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
See you later
Take
on.
care. Have a good rest of the day.
And you. Ta-da. If you've got an exhibition or any other creative project within the arts, or even just want to promote your own artwork, you could do that in podcast form, similar to the one you've just listened to. They start at a convenient price point that is comfortable for any artist working on a budget. This podcast itself is created by working artists, and we know how important that is. So to find out more information, you can email us on ministryofartsorg@gmail.com or on Instagram @ministryofartsorg. Ta-da.